Welcome to Escaping the Echo Chamber. I'm going to pick up where I left off, talking about the Brittany Renner Fresh and Fit interview, discussion, conversation, because it started out as a debate, ended up as a conversation. But to recap some of the things that I talked about yesterday is from the jump, Brittany Renner takes control of the conversation, which is interesting because I saw footage from other individuals. Duke and Don summed it up perfectly, that she was the alpha in the room. Myron attempts to put her on the defensive and she flips it on him. When she first tells him, well, tell me, what kind of girl am I? And then he tries to get her to tell him what type of girl she is, despite the fact that she's already pointed out, no, you said you've made specific statements about me, the type of girl I am. So tell me. She very succinctly and expertly put him in a position where now he has to back up the nonsense that he says. He's not used to that. And he doesn't like that. But what was really interesting is when she's breaking down how she didn't want to go on their podcast, you can start to see that she knew going to because she said she did the research. She said she did the research. She's like, your name wasn't inspiring, but so people got caught up in the insults. But what people didn't catch is that she's like, yeah, I went to your page and it was all the same. She actually did the research. She was like, I got to see who these dudes are. A lot of people don't do that. Clearly, a lot of the girls that are going on their show don't do that. A lot of girls that go on their show just say, oh, they have a large following, let me go. Not doing the research to realize that they're going to go on the show and be made fools of and be treated disrespectfully. Brittany Renner knew who she was dealing with when she refused to go on their show and when she accepted academics' requests to meet with them in a neutral location. At this point, you have to realize this is not a stupid woman by any stretch of the imagination. And despite the amount of intelligence that she displayed, you still had Myron make stupid statements like, oh, well, yeah, all you have is, all girls have is the beauty going for them. So besides that, they have nothing to offer. And it's like, you don't realize that this woman, without using beauty, has been in control of this entire interview from before, not even from the second she walked in the room, from before she set foot in that room. Because another key to find out is that Fresh knew she was going to be there, but specifically was told not to tell Myron that she was going to be there. In what wasn't an interview, I actually had seen Fresh put stuff up on Instagram or YouTube. Fresh had actually posted behind the scenes footage of him meeting Brittany Renner, talking to Brittany Renner before the interview happened. And then he posts even afterwards how he's like, oh yeah, they seem to get along. Myron, after the interview, did not seem to be in a very good mood. But Brittany was getting along with Fresh and academics. Cool, after the interview. Myron was off by himself, sulking. So these are things that I had seen before I had actually seen the interview, but it lets you know just how expertly and how much in control Brittany Renner was of that entire situation. But I wanted to touch on a few things that Myron said, a few things that Brittany did. One of the things that Myron said is he's describing basically the dynamics between men and women. And the first thing he said that caught my attention is that men want sex. That's what men's motivation is. This is what they want from women. He later mentions how because women want more from men, she's got to realize that her past, if she's had a lot of men, she's been with a lot of dudes, that's going to lower her value and her ability to get a man. But it occurs to me, and it should occur to anybody that actually thinks about the stuff he says, which he clearly is not. If men want sex, why does a wealth of experience count against a woman? Just think about it. If men want sex, then wouldn't a more sexually experienced woman be a plus? If that's men's sole motivation in looking for women and pursuing women, the only thing they have to offer, that would mean that her sexual value goes up with her ability to perform skill. So that if you knew this woman, wow, this woman is so experienced, this is going to be the best sex of my life. If that was guy's sole motivation, then his entire thesis of her value is backwards. But he doesn't realize that because he's just spouting talking points that he hasn't put any thought in. But the point is, he doesn't have to put any thought in. He just has to make sure his audience doesn't put any thought into these talking points. He then goes to talk about what women want. And he says that women want money, time, attention, whatever. And I'm like, wait. Because Brittany was being non-combative for the rest of the interview, she didn't push on that. But my question was, whatever? Like, no, there's no whatever. Because you've already listed 3 things and then saying whatever, that you might as well have said women want oxygen. You were so vague in your description of what women want that you said nothing. You basically said nothing. Because what you're saying is women just want a bunch of stuff. Women want stuff. Women want things. Women want blah, blah, blah. Women want yada, yada, yada. That's what he said. But his fans that want somebody to tell them whether or not it's actually true, they want to believe that somebody can help them get laid, they will believe it without actually saying, wait a minute. But you've got to be specific. If you're going to be telling us what women want, you have to, like, whatever doesn't count. Whatever doesn't cut it, because we need to know what women want so that we can better interact with women. Because you got to realize, if women want money and men want sex, there's a real simple way that everybody can be happy. But ultimately, what was blatantly obvious was his complete and total inconsistency, because there was no consistency of his message. But she allowed him to speak, which was interesting. And I'll get into why next. So like I said, Brittany was in complete control from before they even walked through the door. But once they sat down, she immediately asserted her dominance, immediately made it clear that she was in control. And they clearly bothered Myron. She realizes this and then eases up. She put her foot on his neck and then took it off. She took her foot off his neck to give him the impression that something he had done had worked and that he was now in control. I realize this because I saw how easily she was in control and how she pulls a 180 and then allows him to feel as if he's in control. But the point was, and the question is, why did she do that? And that's when I realized how intelligent this woman is. Because Brittany's had her share of drama, but she got smarter and she has a plan. Her short-term plan in asserting her dominance, that was just to feel him out. Brittany was thinking strategically the entire time. Then she becomes more docile and much more accommodating. In fact, even seeming to agree with many of their points. I guess I wouldn't date a broke man, and my past is going to stop me from being able to find a good man. She seemed to agree with these points. Brittany Renner was using this interview in the short term to rehabilitate her image. She knows she's gotten a lot of flack, a lot of heat. She used them to rehabilitate her image. Myron was just busy focused on spouting his normal talking points, not realizing how much wider this is going. And he's exposing himself as a complete and utter moron. Brittany Renner's midterm plan is to provide herself an avenue into the space. So she's either looking at one of 2 options, either working with Fresh and Fit, getting them to say, hey, yeah, come on board with us, which I don't think is going to be the one to have. I think she realizes it as well. Even though she can get along with Fresh, Fit, Myron is just hates women too strongly and would never be able to tolerate having a woman on equal footing with him during their podcast. What she does want is her own podcast. And I believe she's going to get it because she's played it magnificently. And I have a theory about what a long-term plan, but I'm going to keep that one to myself. But the interesting thing is that people were talking about it, and a lot of people had seen that small clip and were just cheering for her. People that didn't even know who Brittany Renner was were cheering for her because of how pathetic she made Myron Gaines look. He took a huge L in just that clip. But even if you look at the rest of it, there are guys that will look at the rest of it and say, oh yeah, they won the debate. Number one, it wasn't a debate. The people that think Fresh and Fit won that are people that already believed the foolishness that comes out of their mouth. Everybody else that watches that now feels sympathy for her for being talked to and talked down to during that interview. She knew exactly what she was doing. She knew exactly how far this interview was going to spread. She, like I said, this woman, at this point, people could make fun of PJ Washington. After seeing this woman in action, a lot of the guys out there better hope they don't become the next PJ Washington. As always, don't forget to give me the thumbs up, like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.